Chapter 2. Beads of sweat rolled down Jimmy O'James' forehead, but he had to admit the show was going pretty well. He had been on stage for 15 minutes, and so far there were no disasters. Did you forget this was a comedy act? Slappy demanded. The only thing funny up here is your face. The audience howled with laughter. Kids slapped their knees in the areas of their chairs. They loved Slappy's rude remarks. They loved it when he insulted Jimmy. They thought it was the funniest act they'd ever seen. If they only knew, Jimmy thought bitterly. His hand shook as he took a sip from his water glass. If they only knew that it isn't an act. Jimmy, do you eat soup with your left hand or your right hand? Slappy asked. My right hand, Jimmy replied. That's funny. I use a spoon. More laughter. The dummy's voice lowered to a growl. Jimmy, what would you say if I stuck a fork in your eye? Huh? Jimmy swallowed hard. Sweat rolled down his cheeks, shimmering brightly in the stage lights. What would you say if I stuck a fork in your eye? Slappy demanded menacingly. I don't know, Jimmy stammered. Please, Slappy, don't. You'd say, ouch, the dummy declared. He tossed his head back in a cruel, shrill laugh. A few kids in the audience laughed too, but a lot of them remained silent. That's not funny, Slappy, Jimmy said, his voice shaking. Let's not be mean, okay? Here's a riddle, Slappy declared. What's the difference between you and a 1.8 meter pile of yellow dog vomit? Slappy, stop, Jimmy cried sharply. That's not a good riddle. It's a bad riddle, Slappy cried, because there is no difference. This time, Slappy was the only one in the audience who laughed. A troubled hush fell over the audience. Kids began to whisper to each other. Jimmy shook Slappy. I warned you, he whispered. Jimmy coughed. His throat felt as dry as sandpaper. He reached for the water glass again and knocked it over. Kids gasped as the glass shattered on stage. Jimmy jumped off the stool and strode toward the audience. Hey everybody, I have an idea, he said, forcing a smile. Who would like to come up here and meet Slappy? Silence. No volunteers. Hey, come up here, guys. I don't bite, Slappy cried. I've got a prize for anyone who comes on stage to talk to Slappy, Jimmy announced. Several kids raised their hands. Jimmy picked a boy in the third row. Everyone cheered and applauded as the boy jumped up to the stairs. Be nice, Slappy, Jimmy whispered. Slappy just laughed in reply.